o'clock, it's time to call the meeting to order. Sandy, would you call roll call, please?
Councilperson Gray. Rooney.
Here.
Terry.
Yes.
Hanson.
Here.
McGinty.
Here.
Thank you. I welcome everyone here this evening, and feel free to make comments on the agenda items as they appear. And let's see, I'm looking for citizens' opportunity to address the council on items not on the agenda is item number 5 this evening. So with that, we'll move on to item number 2, which is consent of agenda. A, approval of agenda. B, approval of the minutes of the February 25th, 2013 council meeting, and C, claims.
I would move passage of the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve consent of agenda. Would you call for a vote, please?
Councilperson Hanson.
Yes.
McGinty.
Yes.
Brenny.
Yes.
Rooney.
Yes.
Perry.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Before we go on, we have been discussing some changes in the way we do our meetings, but they aren't going into force until we actually act on it and vote on it as a council. So if you're wondering why we haven't changed that, that's why. Okay, item number 3 is a public hearing. Now is the time and place to hear comments and concerns on the proposed fiscal year 2014-2015 city budget. Adam, have you had any written comments?
No.
Are there any oral comments?
Not heard anything.
Okay. If not, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. I'll second it.
Motion has been made and seconded to close the public hearing. Would you call for a vote, please?
Councilperson McGinty.
Yes.
Brenny.
Yes.
Rooney.
Yes.
Perry.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
A1 is consideration of the final approval for the fiscal year 2014-2015 city budget. We need a motion to approve it.
I'll make the motion to approve the budget for the fiscal year 2014-15.
I'll second it.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the fiscal year 2014-2015 city budget. Would you call for a vote, please?
Councilperson Rooney.
Yes.
Perry.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
McGinty.
Yes.
Brenny.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Now is the time and place for the public hearing on the capital improvement plan, 2014 through 2019. Have you had any written comments, Adam?
No, I have not.
Are there any oral comments at this time? If not, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to close the public hearing on the capital improvement plan. Would you call for a vote, please?
Councilperson McGinty.
Yes.
Brenny.
Yes.
Rooney.
Yes.
Perry.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Moving on to B1, consideration of the final approval for the capital improvement plan 2014 through 2019. I would
I
take a
would move
motion.
adoption of the final CIP plan for 2014-2019.
Second it.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the capital improvement plan for 2014 through 2019. Would you call for a vote, please?
Councilperson Hanson.
Yes.
McGinty.
Yes.
Brenny.
Yes.
Rooney.
Yes.
Perry.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Now is the time and place for a public hearing on the possible vacation of sale of the east-west alley lying within block 42 between lots 2 through 9 and Platts Edition of Sac City, Sac County, Iowa. Have there been any written comments?
No.
Are there any oral comments at this time? Questions, comments?
Curtis.
Curtis?
Is there an address, or what's this more commonly known as?
It's an alley up on the corner of, is it Phelps and
It's by the old bulk plant, kind of up by the,
15th.
where John
14th,
Page
15th.
keeps his trucks in that area.
Yes.
on the far eastern edge of the block is the hydroponic
Greenhouse.
and that whole area up in there.
In the area by, it looks like by John Page's trucking in there.
It's actually the alley that is adjacent to both his north and south properties.
Is there been any objection, let's say, from the folks downstairs
No, there, as you know, before we started the public hearing process, there was a neighbor or two that had some questions, and, but they've communicated back to us at this time that they didn't have any issues. And that was prior to the public hearing process.
So you don't see any problems with it, with any of the employees or anything?
No.
Okay.
The only people I would assume would have an issue with it might be the neighbors who might be using it for some purposes that we wouldn't foresee, and the most likely ones didn't have any issues.
Okay, if there are no further comments, I take a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make the motion to close the public hearing.
Is there a second?
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded to close the public hearing on the possible vacation and sale of the east-west alley line within block 42 between lots 2 through 9 in Platts edition of Sac City, Sac County, Iowa. I have to ask a question about this. Is this really the first time we've acted on this?
Yes, we've discussed it.
Okay,
But
that's
it's
why I'm
never made it
confused.
to this.
Okay, all right.
Actually, we need to vote on closing the hearing.
Yes, we do. Call for a vote, Cindy.
Councilperson Bruni,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
McGinty,
Yes.
Bruni.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. So now, would someone like to introduce the first reading?
I would introduce ordinance number 2014-255, entitled an ordinance authorizing the vacation and sale of the east-west alley lying within blocks 42 in Platts edition of Sac City, Iowa, Sac County, Iowa.
Second.
Well, that's just an introduction.
That was
Oh,
just
that's
the
right.
introduction. Now we need someone, if there's no questions, now we need someone to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance number 2014-255.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the first reading of ordinance number 2014-255, an ordinance authorizing the vacation and sale of the east-west alley line within block 42 between lots 2 through 9 in Platts edition of Sac City, Sac County, Iowa. Would you call for a vote, please?
Councilperson Perry,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
McGinty.
Yes.
Bruni,
Yes.
Bruni.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Item number 4 is projects. A is 2013 street overlay maintenance project. Number 1 is consideration of approving INS's bill in the amount of $551.25. Any questions regarding that?
Is this the final payment then, Adam?
I have a question into it to find out if there's any final corrections at this point, because I do know that they had some final inspections to do and things of that nature, but yeah, I haven't got a clear answer on whether or not I can expect another bill or not. But we have to be coming close to the end of cost. There are certain inspection things that you couldn't do during the winter period that now that it's starting to thaw up a little bit, you can do a little bit more on the final inspection process.
So we have an outstanding bill with them still of $12,000.
We were contracted for up to, what, is it about? Oh, I see what you're talking about.
It says there's no
Actually,
60-day
I
balance of
just asked
$12,000.
him to send that to me because it was not, we didn't show it on any of our records having received that bill. So I had him, asked him to send that stuff to us so that we could move forward on it. So I should probably have it by the next time we go around to do these.
So at the very least, we're expecting an additional $12,000.
Yes, but that is actually built into, that's why I was saying they're prior. If you look at the top, the difference between the contract amount and the prior amount. And you
I
see
think
that
that's the bill that, I gotta look at the date, but I think that's the one you approved last month.
they just had to process.
That, remember that it didn't come in till.
Right, that's
Yeah.
that one that
Yeah, it was-
we
you
were
did
waiting on
last month,
forever. Did we
And
get
it
it
wasn't
in?
showing under projects, it was included in your claims if you look last month. Because if you notice the date on this is January, it says January on that invoice.
Yeah. We discovered we had an issue where, actually we discovered it when we got
That
this.
12,
Like
exactly.
there was a problem somewhere in the process.
And the 12,000 one was approved last month, yes.
I would move to pay the INS bill in the amount of $551.25.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the INS bills in the amount of $551.25. Would you call for a vote, please?
Councilperson Hanson?
Yes.
McGinty?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
Rooney?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Motion carries.
4B, runway 1836, Pappy installation. Number 1 is consideration of approving change order number 1 in the amount of $2,004.
They're getting to the end of this project over at the airport, and the Bolt Mayor is done with their portion of the project, which they're the general contractor. So like with any other project, at the end, there's a settlement of the difference between the contracted price and the actual price to build. And what you have reflected here is this change order is actually a negative number. It's just over $2,000, a reduction in the price of the overall project because the project as built is less than the bid amount.
Yeah. So I'll make a motion to approve change order number 1 in the amount of negative $2,004.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve change order number 1 in the amount of minus $2,004. Would you call for a vote, please?
Councilperson Perry?
Yes.
Hanson?
Yes.
McGinty?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
Rooney?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item number 2 is consideration of approving the FAA drawdown number 6 in the amount of $1,725.12.
I'll make a motion to approve the FAA drawdown number 6 in the amount of $1725.12.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the FAA drawdown number 6 in the amount of $1725.12. Would you call for a vote, please?
Councilperson Rooney?
Yes.
Perry?
Yes.
Hanson?
Yes.
McGinty? Brennan?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item number 3, under B, is consideration of approving Galtner's bill in the amount of $1,916.80. Excuse me.
I'll make a motion to approve Baltimore's bill in the amount of $1,916.80.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve Altmer's bill in the amount of $1,916.80. Would you call for a vote, please?
Councilperson Perry?
Yes.
Hanson?
Yes.
McGinty?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
Rooney?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Item number 5 is citizens' opportunity to address the council on items not on the agenda. Are there any this evening? If not, we will move on to 6, which is miscellaneous, and A is the Sac City Library to present their annual report. Brandy?
I just wanted to come tonight and let you know kind of what's going on at the library. And on behalf of the library board and the staff, we want to thank you for your continued support. We couldn't do what we do at the library without your significant contribution to our budget. Especially in last year's CIP budget, you gave us money for replacing the furnaces, which we got some money from the Library Foundation and the rest came from the city, so we really appreciate that. We were toasty warm this winter during all that cold weather we had, so thank you very much for that. Statistically speaking, in our stats, this past year, we saw similar statistics from last year's numbers, although for the 5th consecutive year, we were up again, so in circulation of material. So especially adult fiction and DVDs, we saw big increases in those this year. So it's nice to see that even though we're not in an economic downturn as much anymore, we're still seeing increases in use, which is great. We did have, in that same period of time last year, we had record attendance for our summer reading program. Last year we had program attendance one program was 120 kids and adults. We had one that was 80 kids and adults. So we are seeing really big increases in children's programming, which is really nice. As you know, as you maybe have read in the paper, we have kind of jumped on this STEM bandwagon. So we're doing a lot of science programming at the library. And last year we got the Renzi grant to upgrade the science material in the library, the books and the DVDs and things. And then we've got great community support for our after-school science club. So we started last fall with After School Science Club, and we did crazy science stuff with kids from 3rd grade through 6th grade. The third graders were kind of a challenge, but we got through it, and all of last fall was all about electricity. So we had a straw rocket launcher, we had a Van de Graaff generator, so the kids got to like put their hand on that generator and their hair like went straight up. So we got great pictures from that program, and we just started after school science up again last week, this week. They did our program is called Play with Your Food, so we did science experiments with food, including blowing up marshmallows, the marshmallow peeps in the microwave, which the kids thought was the best one, apparently. This summer, we are continuing our science theme with, our summer reading theme is Fizz Boom Read, so it's all about science this summer. We have great programs coming from the Science Center of Des Moines is coming. We've got Mad Science of Iowa coming, and then a lot of local programs coming to do science things in the library, and we're currently raising money from the community again. We hit them up every other year to help fund science programs, or to fund summer reading program, and it gets us through 2 summers. So so far we've got checks coming in again. We're going to have another great summer, I believe, with their help and the Friends of the Library's help. Last year we participated in a program called Smart Investing. We partnered with Iowa State University Extension, and they came and did some investing programs in the library, and we're building on that this year with Money Smart Week. So the Federal Reserve Bank in Chicago hosts this program called Money Smart Week, and we got a free grant worth $600 to get Ben Franklin to come to our library and do a story time for kids. And our city administrator, Adam Ledford, has agreed to be Ben Franklin at the library, so
Agreed.
he was coerced into being Ben Franklin at the library. So the kids will take away a free book, and Ben Franklin will do a story program for them. So we're very excited about that. We're very excited this year because our Sac County libraries joined together and applied for a grant from the state. The legislature gave the state library one-time technology funds last year to improve technology both at the state library, and then they opened it up for a competitive grant process for all of the libraries in Iowa, and our county got one. We applied to replace our old Windows XP machines with new Windows 8 machines, and we did get that grant. We just upgraded all of our XP machines to Windows 8. Our patrons are having a little challenge learning how to use Windows 8 right now, but we are doing classes currently to help people learn that new system. So without any local contributions and no money from the county or from the city, we were able to replace all of our old computers, which I think is pretty significant that we were able to do that above and beyond our budget. So wanted to let you know that good news. And then the county actually is funding, we asked them for one-time tech funds to get more laptops to share as a county association, and they did approve that this year. So we will have 6 laptops that can be used in every library in the county for computer training for patrons, which is really awesome. We're really excited about that. Budget-wise, I know that you guys have made some tough decisions about the budget this year, and again, I just want to reiterate that we appreciate the budget that you do give us. We know that cuts are hard, and we know that everybody's kind of taking cuts this year, and I wanted to share with you that I attended the State Library Commission meeting last week, and every library apparently, from the big libraries, Iowa City, all the way down to Sac City size, are being asked to make cuts already in anticipation of the property tax rollback. So we know that this stuff is coming. Our library board has a strategic planning committee in place, and this year is actually our strategic planning year. So we will be talking about that, about upcoming cuts and what we can do to mitigate that a little bit, including partnering with other organizations. Our budget at the library, we get this much from the county and the state and the city, but our budget really is this big because we're getting all these grants and we're getting all of these donations from the community and from other organizations. And so we're trying to look at ways that we can minimize the effect on our budget because we know these things are coming, these cuts are coming in the future. So we will be discussing strategies, including possibly the Geek the Library campaign, which is a campaign, a public awareness campaign funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation that kind of lets people in communities know how libraries are funded. So we know people really don't know how we're funded. They just think that we get this money magically and that we're able to provide library service. So it basically makes those types of things aware. It's an awareness campaign for the public so that people know where our money comes from and to help us maybe raise money in the future. Another thing we'll be considering is the 27-cent library levy, which could be a value of up to $12,000 in our size of community. So we're thinking possibly of doing a Geek the Library campaign 1 year, and then the next year turning around and then bringing it to the voters to possibly approve a levy that would give us more funding into the budget. So we're considering those things. We also are going to do a community survey this year sometime to get the public's opinion about kind of what the direction the library should go. But I wanted to invite all of you to come into the library, especially after school, because we have been just inundated with middle school kids. They walk from the middle school to the library, and we've just got some cool things going on for those kids. A lot of them are kind of latchkey kids, and they have to be there after school because they wait till their parent picks them up. Right now we've got Teen Tech Week going on, and so we've got some like passive teen programming in the library set up, like stations where they can, this week, or today was snap circuits, so they can build a snap circuit, and then if it works, they get a prize. So if the circuit is actually complete, they can get a prize. We're going to build a box city this week, and then do a smartphone scavenger hunt where they have to take pictures of things in the library, and then if they get all those things, they get a prize. So we're trying to do things for those kids rather than have them just on computers and playing games all afternoon. We're trying to do some programming for them. So, but that's what's going on. I invite you all to come and check it out and see what's going on at the library. Thank you very much for your help with our budget. Any questions you guys
I
have?
have a question.
Sure.
When is the Windows class?
It started 2 weeks ago. I had the third class today, and then
What
the
time
last
is it?
one it starts at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay.
But we're going to be doing another Windows 8 round this summer. Chamber approached me about doing some classes for businesses, so we're going to have a class just for business owners starting in the summer, probably June.
Okay, thank you.
Did you have any accessory hardware that was not compliant or usable with your Windows 8 upgrade?
No,
When you put your new computers in?
no, everything worked just fine with it.
And is there one area of the library where you're seeing declining use?
Declining use. There are some collections we can identify that we're seeing declining use in. Nonfiction. Seems like a lot of people are going to the internet to find out information, even though that's not always a smart decision. We're pushing our databases because we have all these great state-funded databases. The legislature funded Learning Express Library again this year, which has all the test prep in it. So if you have a student that is getting ready to take the SAT or any of those big tests, there are online practice tests through Learning Express Library that they can take. There are job skills tests in Learning Express, so we're pushing those. We're pushing EBSCOhost, which is a great database for people doing reports. If they want to pull articles from newspapers and magazines, they can go to EBSCO. We're still seeing a lot of homeschool families coming in to the library, and they're wanting to know how to use all these things. So doing a lot more like little one-on-one training with databases right now.
Do you, are you seeing less use of your tax, people using your tax forms and stuff?
Yeah, and the IRS doesn't send us the forms anymore, so we just print them for people if they come in, but not very many people are asking for them anymore. So it's not really, I don't call the IRS and get actual forms because I think they would just end up in the recycling bin.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
I know with next year's, when the community center was here, we asked about any plans for the 4-day weeks, that they're 16, 17, 18. Is the library doing anything to try and help the kids on their days off, so to speak?
Yeah, and we've talked about that when we do, right now we're in summer reading mode, we're gearing up for summer reading, but this summer we're going to talk about kind of programs we can offer on those Mondays when there's no school. I assume it'll be Monday, the schedule they've got posted on the district website. Looks like it's Mondays that they'll be off.
Are they voting on that this week?
17th, I think.
17th.
Is there any way you could coordinate with the community center?
Yeah, and we have done a lot with the community center this year. It seems like we've done a lot more programming with them. The Arts Council's getting ready to have a program over there, that Willie the Woolly program. And then the library, they worked with us with our science experiment stuff. Last fall, we had the straw rocket launcher. We launched them in the rec center. So they have been, every time we have something that, we want to co-use the space, they're always great about that. So that's an idea, is working with them for Monday programming.
Maybe they could have a little exercise program in conjunction with, you know, whatever.
So outside of financial support, what would the library's greatest needs be?
Volunteers. I think volunteers we've got a Friends of the Library group, and they are kind of getting older, and they're not as active as they were before. Fundraising, they're kind of our fundraising arm and our volunteer arm of the library, but we haven't had as many volunteers with that group in a long time, just because, you know, they're not able to anymore. So that's another thing in our strategic plan coming up that we have been talking about, is how do we get more volunteers in the library to help with programming, because we have a limited staff. There are only 3 of us, 2 are part-time. You know, what are ways that we can work with volunteers in the community to offer programs and help, you know, covering the desk for an hour if one of us has, 2 of us have to go to training or something, so.
So do the Friends meet at a time that people with normal
No.
jobs can
They
be
meet
there?
at 9:30 in the morning. That's another thing, is, you know, changing the meeting time and when they meet. They're still a wonderful group, and they help us so much. They buy all of our large print books. They buy 4 junior Library Guild reading levels, which are the children's books, and they're all the award-winning children's books. Like, that collection is just amazing. They fund summer reading programs. They buy all of our incentives for summer reading. So they're still doing a lot for the library. It's just, you know, they hold maybe 4 fundraisers through the year, or 3 through the year, 4 if you count. Every other year they do a quilt silent auction. So they're a wonderful group. It'd be nice to have the volunteers too, you know, to help with library programming at the same time.
Have you ever thought of doing a volunteer training?
Yes, we would do that if we had a group that was willing to do things like that. We would do a volunteer training and teach them the catalog and all kinds of things, shelving, and, yeah.
You know, maybe, you know, with the volunteers, perhaps in our newsletter or whatever, we might even mention that, in our next mailing.
Are you still planning on doing something at some point? He brings up a point. I know one time you were talking was about doing something in an off month, a filler in
The survey.
that might be the time
We're
to maybe
still-
put
yeah.
something like that in.
We're trying to determine, the strategic planning committee is trying to decide what survey we want to put out there. We've got a technology survey that we could put out, but I think that library use and kind of our, you know, I think that would be more appropriate. So we've got 2 surveys we're debating which one to put in to give to the public this year. But we're going to do it this year. It's in our plan to do it this year, and we want to get the results back before we do our formal strategic planning session, so we know what people in the community kind of want us to do.
Yeah, I'd like to really commend you on the, you know, STEM approach that you're using, which is, of course, as you know, and most people already know, is the acronym for science, technology, engineering, and math. And so if you can get kids involved with hands-on science and, you know, mathematics-related things, I think that's really super. And, you know, in fact, I wish, you know, the schools would, I think you're a good example for the schools, because there is money out there for STEM education. And I'd certainly like to see Sac City as well as Sac County take full advantage of that as you are. So thank you.
Are your science box being checked out?
That's what I was gonna ask.
Not yet, because we don't have them available yet. Our plan was to have the after-school programs and use the kits and then make them available to the public afterwards. So right now, we're still using them, and we're pulling pieces out of all of them. So right now, we don't have a kit that's ready to check out because we're using them for the after-school club. But at this summer, they'll be ready. Kathy's already started buying boxes for them. We've got binders to put instructions for parents or educators or teachers or whoever wants to use them on how to use the stuff. So, but I think it'll be a nice collection too. And it seems like that's a trend in libraries, to circulate things that are, you wouldn't really think of, as some libraries are circulating like microscopes and telescopes and, you know, things that you wouldn't really buy on your own, but you might check it out at the library. So it's kind of a trend. But we have plans to apply for a STEM scale-up grant through the, for our after-school programs so that we can continue doing it. And also, this fall, we're gonna do, NASA has a program that we've done training on called Marvel Moon, and it's all about the moon and kind of fun facts about the moon and the crazy experiments. Like, there's like a, one of them is a bowl of like cocoa powder and stuff, and then you throw balls into it and it makes craters, so there's some fun stuff that we could do.
Good.
Yeah.
Thanks for all of your work.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we will move on to 6 miscellaneous. We are at B, the third reading of ordinance number 2014-253 entitled, "An Ordinance Amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Sac City, Iowa by amending provisions pertaining to sewer service charges."
I would move passage of the third reading of ordinance number 2014-253.
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded to pass the third reading of ordinance number 2014-253, an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinance of the City of Sac City, Iowa by amending provisions pertaining to the sewer service charges. Would you call for a vote, please?
Councilperson Hanson?
Yes.
McGinty?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
Rooney? Yes. Perry?
Yes.
Motion carried.
6 miscellaneous C is consideration of setting spring cleanup week.
Did you receive something in your, a notice about the dates in your packet? Oh. Dale, do you have the dates with you?
So,
I know Annette was gonna talk to you and get the dates.
yes, she did. It's the last, the garage sale was the last weekend in April, whatever that is.
So that
Garage
was,
sale the
25th and
25th, 26th of April.
25th.
so that would set the dates for April 28th through May 2nd. To coincide with the end of the garage sale.
Okay?
What does the spring cleanup week entail?
Typically, what it includes is there's two different elements to it. One of them is you can come in and typically for a price, and we'll talk about price probably in the next upcoming council meeting. Usually about $10 to sign up for it, something along those lines. You come in, you sign up for it, you get put on a sheet, and that week, for that fee, you can put as much stuff as you want out. And don't quote me on the price, I'd have to look and see what it was. And then also the other element of it is special pickups, appliances, things of that nature. We'll have tags that you can buy to have those things specially picked up, and that's the only time of the year we do pick up that equipment. So we'll be talking probably in 2 weeks. We usually set it, and then 2 weeks later we come back and set the fees and fee structure for the whole process.
Okay? Would anyone like to make the motion for April 28th through May 2nd?
I will make a motion that we set spring cleanup week for April 28th through May 2nd.
I'll second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded to approve the dates of April 28th through May 2nd for spring cleanup week. Would you call?
I know, just historically, from reading through too many old newspapers, at one point there was like a spring cleanup, a paint up, a fix up, kind of a whole thing of trying to improve the looks of the community as well as get rid of your junk. I mean, would that be something that we would ever want to consider, you know, maybe going along with, like, I know planning and zoning is trying real hard to improve the look of the community. I mean, would there be a way to integrate?
How did it work, Bruce?
I think they were giving, I think it was like a cleanup week, but it was like a cleanup, paint up, fix up month or something like that, and they were, at one point I saw they were actually giving prizes to people that improved their property the most, or, you know, or some recognition. It's sort of like the yard of the month, and it's like, look what the, you know, these people got rid of their junky fence, these people got rid of, you know, almost like a before and after kind of picture. I wonder if there'd be a way to incorporate some kind of a city beautification along with that.
Would it entail a sign or two we put in somebody's yard? Is that what you're thinking?
I was just going through microfilms of old paper. This was like the 60s,
Okay.
70s. I mean, just seeing the spring cleanup. I don't really remember. I remember seeing cleanup, paint up, fix up.
You saying you don't remember much of the 60s to 70s, Bruce?
Nice.
Not as vividly as I might, but that's, yeah, Alzheimer's is setting in, but that's all right. But I mean, in conjunction with that, I wonder if there's anything that we could do to broaden it, to actually try and improve the the appearance of the community.
It's a really good idea. How would we put any teeth into it?
I don't know that you have to have any teeth. I mean, I think, you know, sometimes,
Just recognition can oftentimes do a lot, perhaps even coordinated through P and Z, possibly.
I mean, how would you like, I guess I worded that incorrectly. How would you like to recognize the folks that went ahead and did that? How would we want to do that? Or would they want to be, their picture taken and put in the paper? You know, that's kind of a,
yeah, I mean, maybe it's something we could send to planning and zoning and ask for some input. I mean, we've got a
yeah,
little bit
that
of
would be
time.
really good. And maybe they could sign up for it or something, so
So you
we
think in the
know
month
that
of
they
April,
want
or
to
you
be
think in
part
the
of
month of
it.
May?
Well, but we're starting at the end of April. If we went to April through, you know, April through the month, through the end of May, it was kind of an emphasis for
Improvement.
community improvement or neighborhood awards. I mean, maybe, I was just thinking when I saw the spring cleanup and the cleanup, paint up, fix up stuff came to my mind.
I'll bring it to their attention. I know
Okay.
they just set a schedule for next Tuesday's meeting, so I'll talk to them about amending it to include this discussion.
So you want to table the dates then? Or you
Oh,
want-
no, I'm just talking
no.
about.
No,
Okay.
I guess I was wondering if there were a way to expand this,
Right.
the spring cleanup. I think doing the spring cleanup week is great. I guess I would personally like to see something built on it more than just put your junk out on the curb and get rid of it, you know? And have other people take it back to their house and put it out the next year. And
I have one more question to just throw out there. Would it be warm enough to do a huge painting job at that time? I mean, temperature wise?
they said
it depends
on the year.
last year.
My wife.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell.
By
But
May, you'd be able to.
Yeah.
but this
But
is
you know.
May 2nd?
May 2nd, last year we had 5 inches of snow.
Right, that's,
Yeah.
I mean.
I guess that's what I was saying, if we were to do a clean,
Debbie Dennis.
I know.
do like a month or, I mean,
Right. Yeah, we'll
or
turn it
maybe an
over.
ongoing summer thing, you know, or look for neighborhoods that would actually reward them for improving a neighborhood area, or, I mean,
Well, we could even do that after the cleanup, you know, depending.
Right.
Right, for 30 days after the end of the cleanup, you got rid of your junk, now make your place a little more attractive if possible.
Okay, should we turn it over to them? We already did,
Yeah.
didn't we? To P and Z?
Yep.
So all we need is approval of this date.
Did you have a motion in a second? I'm not
I,
sure.
we have
We
a
have a
motion
motion.
and a
Yeah.
second,
Yeah.
so
And the-
call for a vote.
Councilperson Perry,
yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
McGinty,
Yes,
Brandy,
Yes.
Bruni,
Yes.
motion carried.
Thank you. Good discussion on that. Okay, item 6 miscellaneous is D, is opening and review of cemetery bids and possible awards.
But before we open those up, I would just like to put out there, I asked Adam to come up with some figures, just so we kind of know where we're at, what it would cost the city, if we did it in-house, you know, just to consider all considerations, not saying that we're not going to take, you know, private bidders, but just to kind of put it in perspective where we're at.
Bill's the second council member to bring this up to me in the last few months. I know Bruce talked to me, about 2 months ago, about the same idea. So quickly today, knowing there seemed to be some interest in knowing these numbers, I put some things together. There's some pros and cons, of course, to any option you would go through. Just to give you hard dollars for that option, if we were to bring in staff to try to deal with the issue, I also talked with Tom about what the cost of, what he would need from an equipment standpoint that he doesn't already have. And to be all honest, the feeling is what we would probably be dealing with is about, from a staff and an equipment standpoint, we would be, and I'm not talking about fuel here, fuel is something you're gonna have to factor in on top of this. I didn't have time to put together numbers for fuel, but you're looking at about $13,000 probably a year in staffing and in equipment needs, plus a push mower. Figure that's an every so often purchase of a couple of $100s, and then of course fuel, which I would assume fuel is going to range between $1,000 and $2,000. A lot of that's going to depend on how wet or how dry the season would be. So I figure, you know, a good safe number to work with here would be $15,000 is what you'd be looking at Because I would suspect that what you would do with the mower is every time, you'd put the mower on a rotation, that once the lease payment's up, you transfer it in for a new unit.
So we would have to purchase a new mower to begin with.
We would do a lease arrangement for a new, we'd have to do a lease arrangement. These were all put together in the last hour of the day today, just to kind of give you some rough things so that you, I was asked if I could put something together for tonight. I would look at doing somewhere in the neighborhood of between you're talking about $11,000 worth of staff cost. You're talking about $2,000 to $3,000 in lease cost a year for, because Tom did not feel, if we decided we wanted to even discuss that route, he did not have the necessary mowers that he would need for that type of purpose. And then the other thing, as I said, is fuel related.
If it's a wet year and there's a lot of mowing to do, what about time? Are we gonna be paying overtime for these people to keep up? Because it
Well-
seems to me like they're running pretty fast to keep it all mowed now.
Well, I think that wouldn't necessarily be a problem because we'd be able to adjust staff, particularly in the summertime, to coordinate to that area. The area where you're gonna have more of a staffing issue, and I talked some with Tom about this on that, would be the period probably from mid-August through October, when you're dealing with leaves and late season mowing, because most of the staff you're going to hire is probably going to be temporary summer type of support, whether they're doing the job or they're taking other jobs so our regulars can go do the job. Either way, you're probably going to lose that additional support staff during the last 2 rough months of the season. So that means that you're going to have to make up in the summertime the amount of time you're going to lose in man hours managing it in the final 2 months of the season. Tom felt that was probably, and of course this is purely based on the last 2 years, he thought it was manageable if the council wanted to entertain that. Now when I talked with Bruce about this 2 months ago roughly, my comments to Bruce was if we wanted to go down this route, this would probably be a discussion to have before the next contractual end cycle. But if we are serious about it, I wanted to give you numbers to look at it because you're talking about $15,000 a year. Tom felt it was doable if that's something you want to look at. I applaud you on bringing it up before we open the bid so that I can give you these numbers prior, but
That depends on what the fuel costs are too. I mean, if fuel keeps
Absolutely.
going up like it's going to,
Absolutely.
you're gonna have more than that in fuel.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of this is guesswork, and I don't think, in just my opinion, that we're prepared to make a decision on
Right.
guesswork for this year.
And I apologize for thinking about the very last minute, so thank you for getting those figures. It puts it in perspective, kind of
Is there-
answers
well, and
my
I was
question
asked, as I
easily.
said, I was asked 2 months by another council member, and at the time, I kind of put it off because we were starting the bid process then. Since you were the second council member to ask me about it, I thought it would be easier just to actually find out a little bit more about those numbers.
Good. Thank you for doing that.
No problem.
Okay, Sandy, would you go ahead and open the bids, please?
Okay, the first one has the compliance stuff in order.
You know the bidder is?
I'll tell you on this.
Okay.
First bid is from Dave Engel. And his bid is $19,995.
Okay.
The second bidder does not have the insurance paperwork, but says they can get it. If they're a successful bidder. And it is from Kelly Lakes Lawn Service. And that bid is $22,500. $22,500. The third bidder has everything in order. Is from Brett Wilhelm. His bid is $24,995. $24,995. And the last bid
Careful who you're poking
slipped. Has everything in order? And this is from Jim Moore. His bid is $34,000. $34,000. That completes your bids.
Thank you, Sandy. Discussion. Discussion?
I think it's wise to accept the low bid, and perhaps if we want to pursue doing something in-house, give ourselves a year to look that direction.
Well, this is a 2-year contract.
This is a 2-year contract?
Yes, this would be a 2-year contract. What we had proposed was a 2-year contract.
Okay, so this includes this year and next year?
That is
combined?
correct.
So
Yes.
And so is the fee the same for 2 years then?
Yes.
So the fee would be, let's say the low bid of what it was, would be, that would apply to this year and next year both, so a total, you double
If it was anyone other than Dave, I would probably say we needed to look over the contract first. Dave's aware of what the terms of the contract are, so, I mean, there's nothing that's going to hit him that is new here. So, so yes, it is a 2-year contract at a fixed amount.
Dave, I have a couple of concerns. We got several calls last year about tombstones and different things. I would just ask that it is the low bid, and I understand that, but if there was some problems, that you would be open to us coming to you and talking about it and trying to fix those, because there were several people that were very concerned last year.
I think I dealt with most of those with Adam.
Okay?
The one claim I know we dealt with. The other one, I did deal with a person personally paid for the repairs on that stone. The 2 that I know of that have been brought to my attention, there was a vase broke off of one. And we did pay to have that. We got hold of Farber and Autumn, and I did take care of that out of my pocket.
And to be fair to Dave, there were 2 instances brought to our attention that after him and I talked about them, I mean, there was no way to identify when the damage had been done, and even if it had been done by a mower or not, it was questioned.
And I was actually informed by
I
a
guess.
guy out in the cemetery fixing them, and the person accused us of hitting her stone. There was no mower tracks to it, we were just there, so I questioned the fact, talked to my help, they said they weren't even in that section the time that we were accused of doing it, and the guy told me due to the heat on the black of it, what it was a military brass plate, no chips in the tombstone, there was no damage to the tombstone, but there was a plaque laying in the ground. He said due to the heat last year, we had a lot of those, he had to go back in, they're glued in. He said the 100-degree heat on black stone is actually, he told me that's what caused that. It was all in question, we were accused by a person that saw us do it. There was no, you could see the tire tracks in the grass, and there was none hitting, and there was no damage actually done to the stone, and I backed that up. So that was one that was brought to my attention. The other one I did deal with, it was a little roof shady, her marble thing was knocked off, it sits low to the ground, I did buy a new one, and I did pay for that, so.
Well, I
That-
appreciate having the conversation.
Those are the two that I know of that was brought to my attention from the city, and I felt like we dealt with them as good as we could.
Well, that's
So,
good.
But if there was any more, I don't know anything about them.
Well,
But
I
will,
appreciate that.
we will
Thank you.
work with those in the future, and I think we have. If there's been any concerns, I think we've tried to go out of our way to do that. But I guess, and I think if they bring it to his attention, he has called me, and for the most part, I think we've dealt with the situations out there, and I guess that'd be up to Sandy and Adam, they would know.
It's such a sensitive thing,
Yeah.
because that cemetery is so important to
I
so many
understand.
people, so.
I understand.
Thank you for having this conversation, I really appreciate it.
And unfortunately, whatever you do, there will be somebody who isn't satisfied, because if you mow it east and west,
Yeah.
they'll think it'll look better north and south.
I mean, I guess we try to do a good job, and we've done a few things out there that are beyond the scope of the work in the past few years, so, we tried to help out a little, and so has the city's helped us out, so we appreciate that too.
Okay,
I would move acceptance of the low bid of $19,995 to Dave Engel.
Second?
motion has been made and seconded to accept the low bid of $19,995 and award the cemetery job to David Engel. Would you call for a vote?
Councilperson Hanson,
Yes.
McGinty,
Yes.
Bray,
Yes.
Bernie,
Yes.
Harry,
Yes.
motion carried.
And we should say thank you to the rest of them for
bidding,
bidding.
yes.
We appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, David. Okay, moving on to public input on solid waste, which is item number 7. And I don't believe there is any, so we'll move on to council forum, which is item number 8.
Tomorrow night is a county league meeting in Lytton. So if you're interested in attending and we hadn't heard from you, please let us know. And then not next week, but the following week on March 27th is the Northwest Iowa League meeting in Carroll. And that evening. And just for notification purposes, next Wednesday through Friday, I'll be at the Iowa Municipal Managers Institute in Sioux City. So if you're looking for me, find Sandy.
And I believe they're doing some farewell thing for Linda tomorrow, I believe.
Other than that, we have received back the letters. Actually, I'm meeting with Brandy Thursday morning to compile both of our list of who had signed up to move on with the facade project. And I know she's now in the process of setting up for a facade committee meeting so that that can be reported back to the committee, so that the committee can talk about
Any
what-
clue of approximately how many, Adam?
I'd say 17 to 19, 18, somewhere in that range. It was a few more than actually I would say I would have anticipated after the interview process. However, probably just as important as how many is the scope of what they're looking at. I would say that most of them are looking at lighter scope type of work, but there are a few that are looking at doing quite extensive work. Of course, that's all based on estimates at this point and some generic ideas, so.
Is there anything else? Council members have anything?
The windows in the stone shelter house have been removed. They're in Des Moines. I got a call a couple days ago that they are pretty much renovated that part, and when the weather is warmer, they will be here and reinstall them, and probably within a month.
That's great.
And I did get my forms from the state for the wayfinder signs.
Good. Anything else? If not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn?
I'll second it.
Motion has been made and seconded to adjourn. Would you call for a vote, please?
Councilperson Harry,
Yeah.
Hanson,
Yes.
McGinty,
Yes.
Brennan,
Yes.
Bernie, motion carried.
Did you find out what we're supposed to do about the
Yes, surprised.
historical conversation?